Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. We hope you enjoy our content. Thanks for watching and enjoy the video. How do you actually build an empire? Is it armies, cannons and borders drawn on a map? When we think of Napoleon Bonaparte, we usually picture the man on the white horse, crossing the Alps, wrapped in smoke, speed and battlefield legend. We remember the battlefield image because it is visual, simple and dramatic. It turns power into a single heroic scene. But empires are rarely held together by heroism alone. But that image hides the real engine of his power. Napoleon's most enduring weapon was not forged from iron, and it was not powered by gunpowder. It was made from paper. Before a single cannon fired, a quieter war had already been fought. The war to measure, record, organize and control reality itself. The deeper story is not just about military brilliance. It is about systems. It is about paperwork turned into authority and administration turned into force. Napoleon understood a brutal principle of power. To control a territory, you must first measure it. To command an army, you must first count it. And to rule a people, you must first document them. So he demanded reports constantly, not occasionally. Constantly. Troop readiness, local finances, grain prices, transport conditions, political mood. Every corner of the empire was expected to report upward. He wanted to know what was available, what was failing, what was delayed, what was expensive, and what could become dangerous if ignored. This was not just curiosity, it was a method of rule. What he was building was more than administration. It was a paper version of the empire, a second empire made of files, ledgers, tables and summaries that could travel to him wherever he was. In that sense, Napoleon did not see Europe simply as land. He saw it as information. His state was becoming an analog database, built entirely with quills and ink. The map mattered, but the map was not enough. The real power lay in the reports attached to the map. Numbers, inventories, identities, and logistics transform territory into something legible. Once a state can read society clearly, it can act on society with far greater precision. And every database needs a way to identify the individual record. For workers, that role was played by the livret ouvrier, the workers' booklet. It tracked employment, movement and obligations. Without it, a person could struggle to find work or move freely. In the eyes of this system, if the record did not confirm you, your practical existence began to weaken. That is the unsettling part of administrative power. It does not always strike like a sword. Sometimes it simply decides whether you can be recognized, hired, trusted, or allowed to pass. A state that documents you can manage you. A state that can manage you can confine you. Napoleon pushed this logic far beyond labor control. He wanted standardization at scale. Before him, France was a patchwork of local customs and regional legal traditions. The Napoleonic Code compressed that chaos into one portable system, one legal language, one framework that could be printed, copied, distributed, and enforced wherever French power reached. It functioned like a software update for society. Standardization is often presented as rational progress, and sometimes it is. But it is also a form of compression. It removes local ambiguity and replaces it with centrally readable order. That makes a society easier to administer, easier to replicate, and easier to command. This mattered on campaign as much as it mattered in government. Napoleon traveled with clerks, desks, maps, archives, and a steady stream of incoming reports. This mobile cabinet turned paperwork into battlefield speed. Messages arrived, were sorted, reduced, compared, and turned into orders. In the middle of war, he was not relying only on courage or instinct. He was relying on information processing. While other commanders might think in broader strokes, Napoleon worked with a denser stream of detail. He wanted to know where units were, when couriers could arrive, what roads were usable, how quickly orders could travel, and where hesitation in the enemy might become visible. That is why Napoleon often appeared to move faster than his enemies. While others reacted to fragments, he worked to assemble patterns. He could absorb scattered reports, notice the weak seam in an enemy line, and then dictate orders precise enough to account for roads, distances, and minutes. In effect, he became the human CPU of his army, converting paper into timing and timing into force. His genius was not only deciding well, it was deciding with a more complete picture, faster than rivals, operating inside slower and more fragmented information systems. In that sense, bureaucracy was not the opposite of warfare. It was one of the hidden conditions that made battlefield superiority possible. But paper did more than organize logistics. It also shaped perception. Napoleon understood that winning the story was part of winning the war. Newspapers, bulletins, proclamations, and official reports helped turn messy reality into controlled narrative. A near disaster could be reframed as a calculated maneuver. A costly retreat could be described as strategic positioning. The printing press did not merely record power, it amplified it. This is where the empire of paper becomes psychologically important. Control the report, and you begin to control interpretation. Control interpretation, and you reduce the gap between what happened and what people believe happened. And often, the paper arrived before the soldiers. Proclamations could enter a city first, announcing liberation, order, reform, and reason. By the time French power fully appeared, the language of legitimacy was already in circulation. This was one of Napoleon's deepest insights. Rule is easier when people meet the explanation before they meet the force. A population does not have to love a new ruler for the system to work. It only has to encounter a language that makes rule feel organized, inevitable, and intelligible. Narrative was not decoration, it was preparatory architecture for power. But a machine built on total central awareness has limits. In Russia, distance, weather, delay, exhaustion, and collapse pushed the entire system beyond what it could process. Reports became slower, movement became harder, conditions changed faster than paper could capture them. The empire as a political project began to break. The data stream grew too chaotic, too stretched, too late. Even a system obsessed with visibility can lose sight of reality when scale turns hostile. This is the weakness of heavy centralization. It can be devastatingly effective under manageable conditions, then suddenly fragile when terrain, distance, and uncertainty begin to outrun the speed of administration. And yet, the most important part did not disappear. Napoleon's empire fell. The logic of his system did not. Standardized law, state forms, centralized records, administrative identity, national education, mass legibility, all of it outlived him. The paper empire evolved. Today, it runs through databases, servers, and algorithms instead of ledgers and seals. We still live inside systems that want to classify, standardize, authenticate, and predict. We still fill out forms, produce identification, enter searchable records, and leave trails that make us more legible to institutions than to each other. That is Napoleon's deepest legacy. He did not simply conquer territory. He helped perfect a model of rule in which information itself becomes infrastructure. Which leaves one final question. If power still begins by measuring, counting, and documenting us, then what invisible systems are doing that work now? Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one.